Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today you join me in the 2023 Kia Stonic. Specifically, this is the GT Line S model with the 1 litre turbo mild hybrid. Now the market is absolutely flooded, inundated if you will, with crossover cars. That seems to be where everyone really wants to go at the moment, the sort of jacked up hatchback, and this falls exactly into that segment with a starting price of around £20,000 here in the UK. So I'm going to go quickly through some of the options of the trims and drivetrain before we get into what makes this car good or bad. So the range starts at about 20 grand, and you actually get a pretty generous specification for that. So the bottom of the range model is called the 2, and it comes with an 8-inch touchscreen as standard, which has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That's something you have to option on some of its rivals. It has forward collision assist, rear parking sensors, cruise control, and 16-inch alloy wheels. For a couple of grand more, 22 grand, you get a GT line, which includes a bit of tarting up on the outside to make it look better, automatic climate control, electric mirrors, LED front lights, and a reversing camera. And the next model up is the 3, which just basically has all of that, plus some leather seats, which is about a grand more. And then the top of the range one is the one I have here, which is the GT Line S. So you get all the exterior bells and whistles, also some tinted windows, which is a good addition, LED rear lights as well as front lights, radar guided cruise control, blind spot monitoring, heated seats and heated steering wheel, and last but not least, keyless entry. This one is around 25 to 26 grand on the road, depending on what sort of spec engine you get. So in terms of the drivetrains, you've got an option of either the 1 litre turbo, which is a standard 1 litre turbo with around 99 horsepower. That's available on the 2 and GT line models. Or you've got the option for the mild hybrid one, which has about 118 horsepower, which is available on the 3 and the GT Line S. Both are available with either a 6-speed manual, which is what I have here today, or a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which would probably be the one that I go for. This manual is quite good, but you're just going to get an easier day-to-day living with that dual clutch auto, and the fact that it is a dual clutch box means it's nice and smooth with those gear changes. Right, let's see if we can get it to get a bit lively around here. And the handling of this car is actually really good, considering the size. It doesn't really understeer all that much. Chuck it in, you can see me flailing around the seat, but it stays true to the road. It's quite difficult to get it to spin up, and it's quite difficult to get it to understeer as well, which is quite a nice feeling. So what do you get for your money then in terms of an actual interior experience and exterior? Let's take a sec to talk about the styling. Well, first things first, let's get the admin out of the way. This particular one I've got here is extremely yellow. It's so yellow, in fact, that it actually attracted an insect that I've never seen before. Of course, other colours are available. I quite like the look of this thing in white. So anyway, with that admin out of the way then, what do I think about the looks overall? Well, it's not too bad of a looking car. It's got on this model, I've got the LED front and rear lights, which make it quite handsome. The daytime running lights in particular look quite good on the road. And the overall shape of it does look a little bit just like a sort of jumped up hatchback, which I guess is kind of what it is really. I do prefer the purpose-built look of the Nissan Juke, and I like the sleek lines of the Ford Puma. So there's definitely some cars in this segment out there I do just think look a little bit better. To me, it's not hideous, it's not ugly, it's just a car. Step inside and you get a kind of similar affair really. Some might call it a little bit bland, but I think it's quite nice and functional. I think the layout is good, and I think things are quite simplistic, which I really do like. I particularly like the physical climate controls in the center console. Something about the layout just makes it really simple to use, and it looks quite appealing as well. You've got a nice big off button, which I love, and just one dial for this automatic climate control. Below that, you've got some storage on a little shelf for your phone, as well as a 180 watt 12 volt socket and a USB for your phone. And then, much like in the Picanto and the Rio, you've also got the heated steering wheel and heated seat controls, as well as the drive mode select just behind the gear lever, which is kind of odd placement because you have to sort of reach around the gear lever to find it. But overall, I don't think it's too bad at all. Like, you still can reach it relatively easily. You just have to kind of look around the gear lever to see which one you're stabbing. Of course, being a slightly lower class of car, you do have lots of scratchy hard plastics everywhere, but the things that you actually touch aren't too bad. My major complaint in terms of the switch gear in here is the window switches. You probably can't really hear that too well, but not only are they really industrial, but they also squeak, and they feel like they need a bit of oil, they need a bit of WD-40 in there or something. It like gets stuck. Not particularly the best quality thing in the world. But overall, I don't think you'd be too disappointed. Everything is reasonable. You know, the top of the dash has got this scratchy plastic as well, which reflects quite badly in the sunlight on the windscreen, which is something I'm not too keen on. But you do get this kind of nice carbon fibre effect look across the dashboard with some silver accents, a little bit of gloss black, but not too much. They've got the gloss black just right in here. Nice little accents, but not anywhere that's going to get covered in fingerprints. And the screen itself isn't too fingerprinty either, which is nice. And that screen is really the highlight of the Kia. I do feel like in many situations, Kia really have it nailed when it comes to your day-to-day technology. The systems aren't the sort of the most up-to-date or the most insane graphically as a lot of the other manufacturers, but it's just a really reliable system. It's nice and responsive to the touch. It seems to have everything on there that you need to. You can adjust your EQ for your stereo, use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and of course you've got some of the nice Kia niceties such as their Kia Drive profiles, and also your star button on the dash and a shortcut button on the steering wheel, which you can program to your liking. Steering wheel itself is nice and plush as well. It's kind of thin, but it feels nice in the hand. You've got a flat bottom on this GT line trim. You've got some nice toggle switches on the steering wheel for your volume and also your cruise control. And then of course you've got one button lane keep assist as well, and the one button lane keep assist button also does your auto steer on the motorway. What I really like about that is it literally, you can press and hold it and it will turn off lane keep assist completely. So on a road like this, if I need to kind of stray across the line somewhat, sometimes those systems can try and pull you back in lane. In this one, I can literally just hold that button for a few seconds, it will switch it all off, or I can press it once and it will come on and auto steer for me. Really nice and intuitive. You don't have to go digging through any menus for that. You've got a little colour screen inside this main cluster here, and it shows you basic information which you can toggle through, such as your fuel economy, attention levels, user settings, and also some information about your current driving situation, including speed. You've got your traffic sign recognition in the bottom left of that screen as well, which is nice and clear, and it's just nice in your line of sight so you can see when things change. And then right at the very top, it shows you your fuel range. It's all clear and easy to read, not the most functional, and of course there are rivals out there that are not too far off this price, such as the Volkswagen Audi group offerings and the Skodas that have the sort of virtual cockpit, which will be much more in terms of your information, and also the Nissan Juke even, which is a little bit more expensive and a little bit larger, but that has a nicer display in the middle. And then stuff like the Peugeots even have that 3D layering, so this does look a bit old-fashioned by that standard, but if you're used to an older car, then this might be ideal. In terms of cabin space, it's alright as well. So I've got loads of headroom, I'm about 6 foot. The only thing is I can't seem to get quite a comfortable driving position. The seats themselves aren't too bad. They're not the best in class, I would say. They've not got much lower back support or lumbar or anything like that, which is a shame. And these ones are the cloth ones. You can get leather as an option. But they do the job. I just wouldn't really like them for massive extended journeys, especially as I've got slightly longer legs. And I think the issue with that being is that I can't quite get the ideal driving position. The other thing as well is if you're looking for a crossover, chances are you want something with a slightly raised driving position. And sitting here, I would think I was probably in something like, a Ford Focus or something like that. It doesn't feel any different really to any of the other hatchbacks. Space in the back is okay. There's not much thigh support, unfortunately, because of how low the seats are, but you do get plenty of headroom, which is good. I just wouldn't want to squeeze 3 adults back there, but you do get your standard Isofix stuff, and also the seats do fold down with a nice little lip in the boot so that you get kind of a straight through loading bay. It does, however, mean there is a big load lip, and the boot itself hasn't got any electrical opening or anything like that, but it does the trick. It's definitely not the biggest in its range either. It's unfortunately not best in class either in terms of your boot space. It's definitely a usable space, but having that kind of like raised ledge that goes onto the back seats, although it works well enough, it's not the best situation to have. Just isn't as big as something like a Nissan Juke or a Seat Arona or something like that. So yes, the car is practical. It's just not as practical as some of its rivals, but where I think it really excels is in the driving experience itself. I'm on a little country road here and I've got the 6-speed manual and it is an absolute hoot. It's a 1-litre turbo mild hybrid, this one, and you don't really notice the mild hybrid at all. You've got 3 drive modes. The first one that it always defaults to when you start it out, which is kind of annoying, is eco mode. Unfortunately, the throttle response in eco is a little bit like trying to talk to someone through a closed window. It just doesn't really do what you want it to. You stab your foot down and it just sort of thinks about it, and then all of a sudden it kicks in. It feels very electronic and fake. Put it into normal mode and things are, well, relatively normal. You do get an improved throttle response, although sometimes it still doesn't seem to want to pick up as you want it to, and also when you let off there's a little bit of judder on occasion. Put it into sport mode and things change even more dramatically. On a road like this, this is where the manual transmission does excel. The clutch itself is quite light and usable, and you will find that actually around town it's not too much of a chore. You can get the biting point really easily. And the manual gearbox itself, it's got a nice throw to it, feels a little bit notchy, but overall quite a satisfying click to it. The only thing is this engine is a little bit slow to drop the revs, and then there's the handling. It's not quick to 60, this car, around 10 seconds, and that's the faster version as well. But the handling itself, it's a really nice experience. It's not got an awful lot of weight to it, it's quite light, and you do get a little bit of body roll, but the car itself is quite responsive. Chuck it in hard here. It just doesn't get unstuck. It doesn't like to understeer at all. And some of these cars in this segment, you find that that's a real issue. Down into second. Let's try and get it a little bit lively out of here. Yeah, it didn't want to understeer there. It was quite happy. It's peppy. It gives you encouragement to chuck it around. It really just pulls in. I'm really impressed with the steering. That's the main thing. In terms of suspension, it's got a firmness to it, but it's not harsh. I guess that's kind of the sporty dynamic of the car. Let's open the window a little bit and see if we can get some 3-cylinder thrum. Drop it down. Automatic lights are kicked in. It's told me that on the dash, which is nice. See, we're a bit too low in the rev range there for the turbo to kick in, and then it gets really sluggish. It's not a fast car. You need to be in that turbo band to really get the most out of it. And that makes it a little bit gruff on motorways, especially because you don't have much pulling power to overtake. But on a road like this, I'm having great fun. It's not too overpowered. It's got the turbo where you need it. The slightly firmer suspension makes it nice on the road. And even though there's not much kind of feel to the steering in terms of weight, I know where the car is and I'm confident that it's not going to let go. Personally, if I was going to buy one of these to use day to day, I'd definitely go for the 7-speed dual clutch. But if you're going to be driving on roads like this, then the manual's really nice and fun. But yeah, I just think it would get a little bit irritating in traffic. Even though the clutch is relatively light to use, it can be a little bit jerky just because of where the power band is. And you know, when you let off the throttle, it just kind of can rabbit a little bit in traffic. So that's something that would annoy me. Now, does it handle quite as well as a full Puma? No, I don't think so. Although I do think that this feels like it will hold on for a little bit longer. Is it as nice inside as a Peugeot 2008? No. You know, you do make some trade-offs, and I'm not sure that I would recommend it as my pick in this class. Even the Seat Arona just feels a little bit more upmarket inside, but you do have to spec a few options on that car to get really the spec that you want, whereas this one, you could get away with an entry-level car if you wanted to. I've been getting about 45 miles per gallon, which isn't bad at all, but then again, if you spend a little bit more money or look to get a used car that's got a self-charging hybrid function, then you know you're looking at getting more than that and having a nicer experience, because you can get that smooth electric pull round town and that electric assistance on the move. You know, I drove last week a Nissan Juke that was 30 grand for the top end model, and that had a much nicer powertrain with that self-charging hybrid. I got 50 miles per gallon in that, and yeah, I just feel like that sort of car is the better option for day-to-day use. So it really is a mileage may vary. If you can walk into a dealership and get a good few grand off one of these, or if you're looking to buy one used, then great. If you're looking for a lease deal on one of these, by the way, use my affiliate link in the description below to get yourself the best deals. And there's the thing that the Renault Captur, 2008, etc., they'll have larger boots than this. So, you know, if you can find one of those at a bit of a discount, then maybe that's an option as well. But then again, when you are shopping for a new car, you've got to consider the warranty, and Kia's is one of the class leaders. It's 7 years or 100,000 miles. You're only going to get 3 years with most of the offerings from Volkswagen Audi Group. So that's a big difference to someone who's looking to keep a car for a really long time. Of course, my pick of the range would be the top end GT Line S with the 7-speed dual clutch, but at around 25 grand, I really think you need to be looking for a good few grand off that. Otherwise, it's not really something that I'd recommend in comparison to a lot of its rivals, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean to say that this isn't a great car to drive. I think it's got a peppy little 3-cylinder engine, sounds a little bit rough, but round town, it's going to be a really nice companion, and when you get it out on a twisty B road, it's fun as well. The only other downside is that on the motorway, it's really not got enough power, and if you're going to be doing long journeys all the time, a self-charging hybrid might be a better option. And I am more comfortable and enjoy driving the full Puma a little bit more. So there we have it then, the Kia Stonic. A slightly confused car, I feel. Tries to be sporty, and in fairness, is really good to drive. But I'm just not sure this is the best to live with if you've got that kind of cash to play with. But I can tell you this, it's going to be reliable, and it's going to have a good warranty. And that infotainment's not going to let you down either. Thank you so much to Kia for lending me the vehicle, as always. I've tested most of their fleet now, so if you're looking for any of their other cars, most of which are highly recommended by myself, check them out in the link below. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.